and Randy Orton, their debut in 2002. Man, when you look back at that camp they had back in, it was Brock, Randy Orton, John Cena, Shelton Benjamin, Batista. Holy smokes, they had a crew of guys in there that were just studs. And so I'm going to let you take over here, Wade. I want your take on this. I have my notes. I'll give them to you after you tell me your take on what happened between Brock and Randy Orton.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole segment, went about 12 minutes. And obviously the finish, I want to work backwards from the finish, because the finish is Brock gets hard way blood with some elbows on Randy. Clearly, I think definitively, intentionally trying to draw blood. That's how you draw blood in MMA. It's known that that's the best way to open up a cut. They were going for blood. I don't think they were going for that much necessarily, and that might have slightly altered the planned finish, because I thought that the announcement that Brock won by TKO was done clumsily. And I think that announcement came too late. And that might have been just simply because Orton was bleeding so much, the referee called for medics as opposed to waving off the match and saying, that's it, TKO win for Brock. That's my guess on the finish. I think everything went as it was supposed to, with the possible exception that because Orton bled so much from the stiff elbows that it threw off the timing of the TKO announcement. Brock dominated Randy early on. Suplex City. It was like the beginning of the Summerslam John Cena match a couple years back, where it's like, wow, this guy's still a monster. And so early on, I'm watching this and I'm thinking the story here is we want to get Brock hot again, because Vince has a match in mind, again, maybe that Reigns match, where he wants Brock over huge and as a monster again, just remove any doubt. And but they protected Randy a little bit. I thought that the spot a few minutes in where Randy hit the RKO out of nowhere, that's his calling card now. That's what he's known for. That's how the match was sold. And I thought that Randy's facial expression after giving Lesnar the RKO was great. Just a little bit of trash talking to no one in particular. Like, this ain't over yet, folks. And I thought that was good. And I thought, okay, now we're in for a fight. Except we weren't. We were in for then Brock mounting and taking out Randy. After that, they each kind of kicked out of each other's finishers. I think the idea with Randy is, he's going to lose by TKO and get destroyed by Brock, but we'll give him something because he'll kick out of the F5 and he'll hit a couple of his big spots. So, and I don't think you get hurt by Brock kicking out of your finisher. Because it's Brock.
Yes.
It's freaking Brock. So yeah, I think they each gave each other big moves. They each got to kick out of them. But in the end, Brock took off the gloves and did what fighters do when they want to draw blood, is the point of the elbow to the vulnerable skin on the skull, in the forehead and top of the head area. And it was a amazing, brutal picture, and I'm really curious to see where they go from here. I think it would be storyline-wise wrong to not suspend Brock Lesnar for what he did to Shane McMahon, and I'm intrigued and curious what is up with Shane getting involved and getting the F5 also. I'm very interested to hear what you thought of this. So those are my thoughts, Steve.
Well, I mean, I loved it because they left with the heat. Okay, you hear them say all the time, hey, man, we're here to put smiles on people's faces. Hey, man, they left people in question. People in the arena didn't know whether to crap or whine their watch. They didn't know what to think. Many of them, they did have heat at the finish. He went on to attack him a few more times after he hard-weighed him with the elbows, which was intentional. But the match, I thought the match was perfect, because when I heard the matchup, I was like, Randy's coming back, but I just don't see what they're going to do. And it was so logical. He took him to Suplex City. He's kicking his ass, and he just throws him on that damn table, and as he's picking him up, just like you said, RKO out of nowhere. I've got it in my notes. And then Randy's got that look on his face back in the ring. And Brock's selling big time. And here's the thing about Brock, that big, strong bastard, he will sell his ass off for you when you bring it. And yes, Randy brought it. I mean, that's just a credit to Brock, the biggest monster in the business. And mister, when you get him in a bad way, he will sell his ass off for you. Premier stuff. Goes back in the ring, and bam, I'll be damned if Randy doesn't catch him with the DDT from outside in. Again, the way Brock crumpled there, and they got a little tangled up. It's just an epic picture, and Brock just goes down like the Titanic, this giant mastodon that he is, and then goes for the RKO in the ring. Brock kicks out. Brock, another big time sell, goes for the kick. Lesnar, big F5. Orton kicks out. Takes the gloves off, and then, I saw that coming. When he took off the gloves, and then the punches were the punches, but when he started throwing the elbows, I knew what was happening there. And yep. Like you said, there's a little bit of disconnect in the winner by TKO. But for me, if I'm Randy, I think it was a perfect finish to the match. It was so violent, though. I think it took a lot of the crowd aback because they weren't expecting to see something so graphic. So I thought it was great for Brock because it shows this vicious side of him. And as far as Randy goes, hey, man, the doctor stopped the match. There was blood just pouring out of his head. It was an amazing picture. But it was shocking if you weren't ready for it. And I'll tell you what, man, he opened his ass up with those elbows right there to the top of his skull. Does the F5 on Shane McMahon, and more heat on Randy, and of course, he leaves. I just thought it painted just a badass picture of this tough ass guy that I don't know if they can control. He just, F5's your commissioner. Like you said, they've got to find him, do something, suspend him. A lot of people thought this match or everything was too short for what it was intended to do. I loved it. I love Randy's performance, and I love Brock's performance.
Like so many things, it's all about the follow-up, too.
Yes.
They have an opportunity, because this is the thing. Vince McMahon, and there's been a lot of reasons to criticize his creative, and I did so earlier with what he enjoys doing with Jon Stewart and Anderson and Gallows, and I think on the undercard he does some stuff that I think undercuts and weakens. And they would counter-argue, no, you're looking at it as a pro wrestling fan, and we're in the business of getting the brand out there and making it accessible to advertisers, and having Jon Stewart be involved in something like that makes it seem advertiser-friendly, and it satisfies our USA Network executives because they think, hey, if Jon Stewart's involved, it must be okay. I get all that, but I'm still critical of it. I think there's a better way to put it in context. This, though, is where Vince McMahon often shines. He has his eye on the big picture. He did since WrestleMania 1. He thinks about where is the next big surge in business going to come from. And he's thinking, Brock Lesnar is my best asset in that regard. He's the guy who can disrupt our business model and get people who aren't paying for the network to pay to see a big match down the line. Whenever Brock's next pay-per-view match is, it's going to be a bigger deal than what they did with Dean Ambrose, and it's going to be a bigger deal than even what they did with Randy Orton, although I thought they did a nice job hyping it, and that video package was tremendous. This is setting up something very specific that Vince McMahon has in mind, and I'm curious what it is. Steve, I am a little fearful that Shane taking the F5 means we're going to see